Dear viewers, welcome to this special edition of NTV Talks. I'm Shivani Thapa Bosniath with you. The issue of talk today is Nepal's new foreign policy. Now, we are living a uniquely important time of global history, seemingly a transition like never before, and also of a nature that is global. And coming to the home ground, the incumbent government at this point of time, while having to deal with a lot of external and internal call, has taken the time to introduce a new foreign policy. At the core is its national interest, while having to maintain an independent regional and international image and personality. Now, to shed light on this policy paper, we have at our studios today the leadership behind this initiative. We're very much pleased to welcome to NTV Studios Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Pradeep Kumar Gyawali. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Shivani.
Right. Now, your priority undertaking, I'd like to put this again, your priority undertaking, I think as soon as you, assumed office herein, has now finally taken shape. And let me congratulate you and your office for this accomplishment.
Thank
first.
you. Thank you very
Now,
much.
before I begin, or at the very outset, I'd like to touch upon the basic concern over its need. Especially, there has been a call or concern from the quarters which, emphasize more on action and style rather than anything on black and white. Now, could you shed light on why did your government even feel the need of coming up with a new foreign policy?
There are 3 or 4 major reasons behind it. First of all, Nepal has entered in a new phase after the promulgation of the new constitution and having all 3 tiers of election. It asks us to reorient our policies, whether they are the domestic policies or they are related to the external front. Second, the global power paradigm has been shifting. New elements have been emerged, and the geopolitical is also witnessing a new opportunities and the challenges as well. We have to cope up with these challenges. And third, very new issues has been emerged, like the climate change has emerged as an urgent call, terrorism, migration, and many more, which requires a new perspective, new policy guidelines to accommodate our already existing policies to these change dynamics. We have come up with the new foreign policy, which tries its best to reflect these new phenomena.
Right. A quick look through the policy paper, and it's pretty much evident, as you said, that it's tried to incorporate various sectors and, stretching and incorporating so many elements to it. The best thing is, for the first time, Nepal has an integrated foreign policy document in black and white now, right? But many say, if I would want to pick up the opinion from various quarters, many say it's just a collection of agendas. Or if I would borrow, the very words of some of the statements, a collection of wish lists. So, how do we read this?
We should be very careful about the very structure of the foreign policy of any country. It always carries 2 aspects. One is its constant aspect and one is its dynamic aspect. So if somebody look a type of continuation in our foreign policy, that is quite natural, because we have maintained those relevant aspects which we already introduced, practiced over the ages. But the foreign policy incorporates the dynamic aspects as well. If geopolitics has been changed, if the global balance of power has been changed, and if the new elements which craft affect the global agenda, they should be reflected in the foreign policy document. So we have a type of continuation, and we have a type of new introduction as well. 3-4 things which are quite new, you can look easily. In the history, Nepal always pursued a type of balance relation with its neighbors, and let King Prithviraj Shah, in his famous metaphor, the yam between two big boulders, it gave a type of overall direction to the Nepal's foreign policy. But you can look how we interpret in the current situation. So it will be inappropriate if we talk that it is just a collection. It has new elements, it has new perspectives, and it.
You want to say that it's a blend of continuity and change?
Yes, of course, of course.
Right. What is the statement that Nepal wanted to make to the international community, having introduced a new foreign policy?
Our main objective is the protection and the preservation of the national interest. When we talk about the national interest, it is not aimed against anyone. It is the requirement of Nepali nation and the Nepali people. So what we want to appeal the international community through this new policy document is that Nepal's topmost priority, Nepal's prime interest is to preserve its national interest while making balanced, trust-based relation with its neighbors, its other extended neighbors and friendly nations. When I took my office 2.5 years back, we crafted a type of new mantra: amity with all, enmity with none. It is a guidepost when we deal with our foreign friends. There are many logics which tend to make a type of polarization among the nations, among the communities, in the name of political ideology, political system, culture, religion, strategic alliance, or many more. But Nepal refrains. For Nepal, all global community are friends. Yes, there may be some differences, but there are no any hostile countries for us. All are friends, and we will forge the strong and trust-based partnership with our friendly nations, so that we can focus to achieve our national aspiration of socio-economic transformation and prosperity, prosperous Nepal, happy Nepali. We appeal all our friends that Nepal's aim is to forge, to strengthen, to widen its partnership based upon mutual trust and understanding. For it, we have set some fundamentals in that regard. Sovereign equality is prerequisite. Mutual trust and benefit, that is also other foundation or fundamentals, and mutual benefit and non-interference. Based upon those fundamentals, Nepal wants to develop its relation with its neighbors and other friendly countries, and wants to contribute to establish a fair and just world order in this regard.
Since Nepal even started talking about foreign policy, and that was centuries ago during the time of King Prithvinarayan Shah, and then there have been several upheavals that the world has gone through. Coming to today, besides all that, the time and then all the changes and the dynamics, the reality, the basic reality for Nepal still remains the same. There have been concerns whether Nepal or the government is overestimating its strength, or is it losing sight of the practical limits it has?
I think we have calculated our opportunities and our challenges very objectively. Yes, when I was launching the foreign policy document, I talked about the necessity of to change the narratives. One narrative which wants to interpret Nepal as a weak country and as a country which would not dare to talk about sovereign equality. That type of narrative is there, which we should have to change. But it doesn't mean that we have not challenges. Yes, they are. We have calculated the challenges and which are in front of us when we talk about the protection and preservation of our national interest, and we have chalked out the opportunities as well. The widespread goodwill towards Nepal, long cherished political stability, Nepal's diplomatic outreach, Nepal's contribution on worldwide peacekeeping operation under UN umbrella, increasing Nepali diaspora, and Nepal's image as a peaceful, democratic and progressive nation. All these give us a new vista of opportunities. We should be able to tap those opportunities while keeping in the mind and while being very aware about the challenges. We have a balanced approach about the challenges and opportunities. So neither we have overestimated us, nor we have underestimated.
What was the perception while you were drafting the policy paper on the bilateral ties vis-a-vis, again, reality versus practicality?
I look our geolocation as an opportunity. Our neighbors are engaged in competition, contestation as well, but to be located between the two largest market of the globe, to be located between the two most promising economy of the globe, it says a lot, and we should be able to tap those potentialities, tap those opportunities. So I had tried, we have always maintained a balanced approach. We have categorically told our neighbors that Nepal, from its part, will assure you that Nepal's soil will not be misused against your genuine and legitimate interest, but Nepal will not be a part of that contestation. We always wish of a collaboration, cooperation between the neighboring countries, which not only will be benefit for the region, but it will contribute to the global peace, stability and prosperity as well. But our main interest is with broader connectivity, physical, digital and economic connectivity. We want to be benefit by the development of our neighboring countries. A peaceful, stable democratic Nepal is in favor of our neighboring countries as well. That is the message Nepal wants to convey.
One of the highlights is, of course, the one on reviewing and amending the bilateral treaties or agreements, and even endorsing a new one based on the need. And this has been a long-standing call. But whenever we talk about bilateral treaties or agreements, it attracts India, of course. And given the highest degree of the multifaceted relationship between our two countries, and then there is the stature of India in the region, and then there is so much to work on the regionalism front as well, as the policy paper speaks. What do you have to say to those who are casting doubt?
We should be careful, wise, and proactive to resolve those issues. Otherwise, they will contribute as irritants. 1950s treaty, boundary issue are the issues of Nepal with India, which are the product of the history. And we should be proactively engaged to resolve it, so that our relation will based upon elevated level of trust. India is one of the major development partner, major investor. We have multifaceted relation. We have the problems, and if you put them under the carpet, that will not solve the problem. But while talking about those problems, you should not undermine or ignore the urgency of further strengthening our relation, overall comprehensive partnership. Nepal has achieved the political stability, and now whole focus of nation has been shifted towards socio-economic transformation and prosperity. To achieve those changed national aspiration, we have reoriented our diplomacy, focusing basically on economic diplomacy. It consists basically 5 major aspects. One is to continue and to try to increase the official development assistance, though we know that we have limited room. Second, to promote, to invite the foreign direct investment in our required priority areas, which I can be satisfied that since 2-3 years the trend is quite encouraging. Third, one of the major objectives of economic diplomacy is promotion of tourism. Fourth, promotion of the export trade. Fifth is forge partnership with Nepali diaspora. Basically, we have checked out these 5 areas, the major pillars of economic diplomacy, and we have developed at least 35 country-specific profiles, so that our missions can be focused in the guidance of that policy paper, and what type of economic partnership we have to forge with the host countries. Our mission have now the clear guideline.
There have been some long constants, and then there are some interesting features that, for example, the use of the knowledge and skills of Nepali diaspora, and then you also use the term of soft power diplomacy. Could we have been more elaborate on defining those very bits?
We are trying our best to develop Nepal's new brand or image of democratic, progressive, and one of the fastest growing economy. Mountain agenda is one of the most sensible agenda in this regard, and Nepal can take initiation in that regard. So that's why the Sagarmatha Sambad, Brain Gain Center, efforts to establish or develop a new image of Nepal that speaks a volume about our efforts to develop Nepal's soft power.
Do you not think, in order to foster our national interest, especially at the time when we are focusing on economic prosperity, which is very fundamental for us, do you not think we need to really have a very clear vision and find the right balance between, our international standings and national and economic interest?
Nepal has some fundamental principles which have the genesis in the history, in the past as well, which cannot be changed. But when we talk about the economic partnership, cooperation, we should be very careful about our need, our resource gap on the one hand, donors' interest for the partnership with a country like Nepal, and the preserving the national interest on that regard. So we are very careful. So people very often talk about our partnership with BRI, our partnership with MCC, our partnership with sub-regional partnership like BVIN and many more. We accept the foreign cooperation in our national priority area, but while doing so, the national interest, national priority are the most that should not be negotiated. So we are clear on that regard. Second, you were talking about the multilateralism, regionalism, and our broader engagements. The current challenge, unprecedented challenge of the COVID-19 has once again reaffirmed the relevancy of multilateralism, relevancy of regional cooperation. No country, how big, how strong, and how mighty it cannot tackle alone all these challenges which are the transnational effects. So multilateral efforts, multilateralism and regional cooperation are the best tools for tackling those problems which goes beyond the borders. So Nepal will stand always in favor of the multilateral cooperation. UN and other international organizations should be strengthened. They should be more effective, more result oriented, and the voice of developing countries should be recognized and heard more sensibly, so that we can establish a fair, just, and people-centric world.
Now, as we move towards the end of this conversation, Honorable Minister, my question would be on the implementation. Now, already different quarters look not happy with the procedure that has apparently been adopted in drafting the policy paper, and we all know that if there is no ownership, that means that would lead to an ineffective implementation part. And also, Nepal has had a major problem in its inconsistent and weak foreign policy and its international standings, owing to the various approaches based on the governments that have come by. So what is your say on this?
First, we reviewed those reports of the task force which were established after 1990s democratic movement, after 2006 big changes, and after the promulgation of the new constitution in 2015. All policy documents have been reviewed, and we have extracted the relevant and very crucial policy recommendations from that. Second, we hosted the National Dialogue on Foreign Policy, where every political party was attended, senior leaders were there, and we very comprehensively discussed on various aspects of the foreign policy. And third, we have went through the manifesto of different, almost all political parties, and we have extracted the general and converging ideas from those parties. So there is no any room to make criticism that we have not bought in the. And third, we have set some mechanisms. There are two mechanisms. One is under the leadership of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and one is under the leadership of Secretary of Foreign Affairs, which consist almost all relevant ministries and agencies. So we will review periodically on the implementations, and we will develop some new legislations and directives and other regulations if needed to implement these policies.
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for coming over and shedding light on the new policy paper.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And to our viewers, that's all coming to you from this edition of The View. Until next time, from me, Shivani Thapa Bosnat, and the entire crew, goodbye and namaste.